General Operations and People Development. Anita is actively committed to growing the Nigerian media and tech industries, especially in the areas of operations design, execution, and workforce development. Her works are focused on improving the industry by creating and executing workable media business operation roadmaps. She's also the co-founder of In Nollywood, an analytical media company working to improve the quality of conversations around the film business in Africa. It is with great joy, pleasure that I bring on board Anita of Big Cabal Media. Of course, let's keep the clapping coming. Let's clap our hands. Just show some excitement that Anita is here to speak with us. Hi, Anita. Anita, if
Hi
you are
guys.
speaking, you're muted. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, so my network is horrible, and I'm sure that's almost the same story all around. So I'm going to keep this as light as possible so that we can follow. It's so nice to meet everybody. Thank you so much. I wasn't expecting that there were going to be this many people. Thank you very much. I think to start with, so we can get in the gist of things. How many people here? Just raise your hand if you have been running your a business for less than 3 years. If you're running something for less than 3 years, just raise your hands. Let's see that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Um, so two people, three people. If you've been running it for more than 3 years, raise your hand. Hi guys. You can hear me, right? Just use the emoji if you can hear me. But if you've been running a business for more than 3 years, raise your hand. Okay, so we had three people raise their hands for less than 3 years. And I'm looking at nobody is raising their hands for more than more than 3 years. If you've been running a business for less than a year, raise your hand. Okay, two people. Okay, all right. So it's interesting. I did that for just to know, just to get a sense of like where we are all at with our operations journey and like structuring our business. I like to say it's very simple, and operations is often the most neglected thing in businesses. And a lot of businesses fail not because the idea is not great or not because the people, are not smart, but because they haven't prioritized how they would operate. They haven't prioritized structure. So when you are starting something and you have an idea, and you are starting to see signs that this idea could potentially become a company, as you're working towards getting money for, to get the thing off the ground and getting people, what I usually where you want to start from really is to structure the way that each thing that you're building is flowing into each other, each person that you're building with is flowing into each other. That's like the baseline things. So for instance, you're starting, say, an ed tech, right? You want to be able to structure internally, like the teachers, this is the point where they come in, the finances where that comes in, the people who are working in houses where they come in. And it's crucial that you do that. If not, you find that usually what a lot of people do is that they just build and build and build. And then one day you find out that you you've lost track of the company that you're building. You have you are built to understand that you've built this very big thing and everybody's just doing everything that they like, you know, stakeholders are not being as engaged as they should be. You don't know where anything is in the business, you're not tracking your goals, you're not tracking anything, you're not even setting good goals or recording anything, and you realize that you've basically built this monster of a business, and things are falling apart, but because you don't have structure, it's very difficult for you to know what's falling apart. I'm going to I like to talk about operations and structure from like the very baseline base of it, which is what operation without the S means in itself. And it means an action of functioning or the fact of being active or in effect. So operation in itself, like the act of something being in operation, means that it is functioning, it is alive, it is active, it is in effect at the moment that we're talking about it. It is in action. It's not stopping. So this already signifies that whatever thing you're putting together, your startup, it is an operation, a business operation that is in effect, that is a moving trade, basically. And you need something internally that binds everything together. And that is really where operations comes in. Operation is also known as an active process used to discharge a function. So again, whatever products you're building, it is in action. Like, people are using it. It has impact. It has process. People are. It's in action. Like, it's basically in action. It's not static. It's discharging a function in the moment that you are running this product or you're building this startup. What you need in the middle of that is really the operations of it. So I'm breaking it down so you see how it flows from your business down to like what it is in itself. Operations in itself can now be defined as the work of managing the inner workings of your business to run as efficiently as possible. So when we talk about operations, there are words that are very key. So one, it's the work. Operations is work. It is an entire function. It's something that the CEO is good at, or if you're an early stage startup, or you have a partner within your or a co-founder who is fantastic at doing that work. And that work goes from anywhere from structuring how it is that you organize the way that you work internally, how it is that you talk with clients, documentation, finance, making sure that the roles and responsibilities of each person are defined, making sure that the KPIs are feeding into the OKRs, and that the OKRs are in line with your overarching business objective. Like, it's a lot of strategic thinking. It's a lot of work to make sure that the moving parts are well ironed. So the first thing that you want to note in operations is that it is work. Just for the benefit of network, just confirm you can hear me by using the emoji so that I'm not talking to myself. Thank you very much. The second thing that you have to be very clear on in the definition of operations is managing. It is work, but that work involves managing the way that the business puts its goals together, managing the way that the business implements those goals or executes those goals, managing the way that people are onboarded on those goals and the way that they go on to execute the goals, either at team level or at individual level, managing the external stakeholders, managing your board, managing your advisory board, managing your customers, and just making sure that all the moving parts are very aligned with each other and no one is sticking out like a sore thumb. So operations is work and is managing. Then what does it manage? It manages the inner workings, like all of these things that I've mentioned, the inner workings of it. Like, what is the engine of this business, and why does this engine work the way it should work? What is the engine, and why does the engine work the way it should work? The reason why you are doing this first part of the thing is to make sure that you get the outcome that is in the second part of the definition. Remember that the definition is operations is the work of managing the inner workings of your business so that it runs as efficiently as possible. All of the things that I've explained in the beginning moves on to the last part of it, which is making your business run as efficiently as possible. Efficiency is, oh my God, like, from point A to point B, everybody knows what's happening. Point C, everybody knows what's happening. And when you have a system like that, it makes it very easy for you to be able to manage crisis because you can see when things are not working. You can see instantly warning signs when things, are not where they're supposed to be, and you can start to fix them before they become full blown crisis. Now, the second part of it, because I want to keep my monologue short so that you can ask me real life questions and I can give you real life answers to these questions. The second part of what I wanted to touch on really is just the types of operations management. There are four major types of operations management, and it depends on like just what business you're into and what you're building. And the first one is the product based operations management. This is really for very tangible industries. So industries that deal with let's say FMCGs, for instance, they deal with actual tangible goods. And so this kind of operations just really looks like at optimizing the processes and key resources for physical products. And they use a lot of production systems. So things like the queuing theory, what should come before what should happen before this, and stuff. What should come before something, what should happen before that, and stuff like that. The second one is that so they do a lot of quality control. You need to make sure that everything that comes out of the factory is the same. Everything that's so basically it's like you are dealing with products. Imagine buying Indomie and it happens. You've seen when it happens a bit, like you buy Indomie and two of the one Indomie has like two season packs and stuff like that. But usually in situations like this with product based, you really want to make sure that everything that comes out is the same quality because it is a tangible product. The other type is service based. Now this is the one that really applies to us that work in the service business that have to do with a lot of like products that live on the internet and stuff like that. You need to make sure that so you're thinking about things like customer interaction, like that's a key part of your operations process. Like who is in charge of customer interaction? What kind of training does that person get or those people get? What's the hierarchy system within your organization in a way that benefits your customer? Again, employee training as a whole, like how are you transforming your business into a learning organization? Service delivery optimization. How do you make sure that the products that's in your head that you've promised the clients that you're going to give them or the thing that they need your app to do, that at the end of the day your app is actually delivering that. So that's for the second one. The third one is batch based. This is again a very mass production kind of thing, and I'm listing all of these things because there are principles from each of these that you have to apply in your organization from time to time. Like for instance, like a big part of our work is stories, and you sometimes we have to treat them like they are FMCG products in terms of every story that comes out has to be of quality. This is what quality means for us. This is what quality means globally. This is how we're trying to meet that standard, and to make sure that that is done. So it's like they are just principles that you can't help. Like I use the queuing theory a lot in the way that I structure operations. Like I write down there's a roadmap every year, and then I queue these things according to how they're supposed to go, and just in terms of needs and what needs to come forward, what's a priority, what's not a priority at at the start of every week. But for the batch based operations management, you really want to think about flexible production. You think about cost efficiency, which a lot of us that run startups can know and are very familiar with. You're thinking about inventory management, like what did you get, what's going out, and stuff like that. The last one, which is my favorite, is continuous operations management. It does not, this one means that the thing doesn't stop. Like it's just going on and on and on and on. And it's usually for high volume productions. And I find that the startup world all pushing for scale, right? We all want something to grow and hit millions and billions of users. And so you find that at every stage of growth, you're constantly reviewing your processes to make sure that it can carry the weight of how your organization is growing. And it can, not just that, it can spur and inspire people within your organization to be thinking about more growth. So operations sustains growth, but also it's a good operation system creates the environment for people to want to grow bigger, think better, figure out better ways to win, better ways to reach the business goals, dream wider, better, dream in color because like they are not running around in chaos, like trying to figure out what is working or what's not working. The system works for them, the system works with them. And that's really what you want your operations to do if it's really done well. So I'm going to pause here. This is 8:30. I'm going to pause here. And I want us to spend a bit of time talking about real problems, real life issues, And this is the time for you to ask your questions. Like, what would you like me to answer for you, for us to attempt to solve together in this session? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anita. So, if we have questions, we can raise our hand and, of course, ask these questions. If you prefer to put your questions in the comment section, you can do that as well. So please feel free, don't be shy. Let's make sure that we just take maximum use of this opportunity and ask as many questions as we might have. I guess we're probably warming up with the questions. So, Anita, let me go first in that case. What do you do when you have a problem with talent? Because it's one thing to say, oh, I have plans of how I want operations to look like. I'd like to run a tight ship, when it comes to operations. But what do you do when you're unable to get the best possible use of the talent that you have at hand? How do you work around that?
If you're already getting the best possible use, it means that you've either hired the wrong people or you are a terrible employer. And that's because at the time that people are jumping on board to join your business, they should get, give me a second. Sorry, my internet is going off and on and I'm struggling. But yeah, as I was saying, um there is, so when you onboard people, it's very, very important that you give them their expectations from the jump. Like, these are the things that you need to do, and then you should have a document that outlines, like, just this is how we operate. Like, these are the departments, this is how each one works with the other one, this is why this is here. You need to, as a startup founder or as a manager, have a lot of information, all the possible questions that people usually have when they join a business. You need to be able to have provided a document that answers all of those questions. And it's crucial because you can't expect that people would have answers. They're just coming into this dream, right? You're the person who has been dreaming along, or you're the person who has been here long enough for that to happen. However, if you have situations where even after you've done an extensive thing like this and you've set up accountability systems for people to report progress in a way that's not micromanaging, that shows that you actually do trust their judgment, um you need to actually make sure that your accountability system is fair enough that even the person knows when they are messing up and you can easily let them go. But at the baseline, first of all, is to make sure that you have all the information that the person needs to succeed on a role, like, put together, and you are hiring really, really smart people who already believe in your vision and who are going to give their best, simply because even the management of your interviewing process and hiring process is crucial. Like, you have to have a hiring plan that looks at all the possible things that you will need from a candidate, and then you're cataloging candidates according to the budgets that you have, and you're able to reason with them to say, hey, like, this is what it is, this is what I need. And people can sense when you're put together, and that just goes a long way into how they will approach working for you when they make a join. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, please. Thank you, Anita. I see that we have a few hands, and we also have questions in the comment section. Abdul Samad says, hello, good evening. Is startup operations the same as key activities? That's one question. So would you like to take that first before we take Precious? I see that Precious has his hand up as well.
So let me take that. No, it's not. Operations, like I explained earlier, it's the entire thing. It's the entire engine of this is who we are as a people. These are the things that we do. This is how we talk to each other. This is how we work with each other. This is how our work interacts. This is how our work interacts with the goals that we have, and it is full on 360, right? On the other hand, key activities are just one of the things. Like, so one of these you're listing is that key activities, and you have to specific key activities of what, of the manager, of the staff members individually, of the business in itself every day. So like there are multiple kinds of key activities, and you need to be as clear as possible with each of them. Okay, so I think Precious, we can take your question now.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for being here, and thank you for the team for organizing this too. So, my question is, I'm the COO at a logistics company called All In, and we're trying to grow, but basically we just try to ship products from one place to another. And a friend reached out to me, like a long time friend, and saw what I was doing, and he now said, "Oh, I should also be a CEO at a food delivery startup for fresh food." Now, both of them are operations. I feel like there's something that is, as far as it's still around the logistics space, it still means taking products from one place to another. But now, moving on, I found out that the food part takes more time and has more work to go. And why I'm asking you this is because from your intro, I found out that you're not just running one firm, you're fronting two big ideas. So I wanted to know, what do you think about this two operation space, and how do you think I can work around these two systems? Thank you.
I mean, it depends on like what your personal goals are, but also it depends on how much bandwidth you have. So I'm able to do the things that I do because I'm really good at setting up teams. So when I'm going to a new place, I'm really good at hiring the people that I want, and that's because I have the resources to do that. Hiring people I want and setting up teams and making sure that everybody. So for the first 1 year or like the first 6 months, we're all working together, bat to bat, and making sure things are working. But where I know that I have done my job as an operations person is that the business is able to run without me. And a lot of people are often afraid of that because they say, oh, well, that means they don't need me anymore. And that's the point. Like when the business has gotten to a point where it is running in quotes on autopilot, it means that now you have the brain space to sit back and think about strategic solutions to like things that could come up as the business grows. For your own case, it's a thing of how strong are you as an operations person right now. That's something to consider. This has taken me 12 years to put together, so that's something to consider. How strong are you as an operations person? Is this aligned with your goals? Have you successfully built systems that have hold that are held things together and that are still holding things together? Again, very crucial. And then it comes to down to if you're working on an early stage startup, you really want to give your all to it, except you're doing like a big company work where you are just in charge of a particular competency, and then you can have the remaining time to put in the startup. But if you're doing early stage startup, I always advise against doing two early stage startups at the same time. You're going to burn out. You're never going to properly concentrate on one to give all the systems possible. And because you're also learning. I know the title says CEO, but you're also learning on the job as you know. Perhaps you're trying to figure out logistics is a beast, the food business is a beast. You really need to consider like, are those things that you feel like you've grown the operations muscle to do together, or do you really need to pick one? So it all comes down to you. But I've just given you context on how you can weigh the pros and cons of it.
All right, thank you very much for that response. I see there's another question in the comment section, actually, too. It says, what are key activities to maintain quality control? That question is from Oluwagbemiro Olubi. And then Gonse has I think it's more like a comment. It says, please recap
Okay,
the
so
types
let's
of
can we take
operations.
one?
Okay, okay.
Can we
All
take
right.
one?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So let's take
okay,
the first one, which is
okay. Yeah,
um quality control.
yes, please.
It is first of all having a what does quality mean to us document somewhere. And coming up with that, what does quality mean in those document means sleepless nights of like figuring out what taste am I building the foundation of this company or on this of this product on. So what are the global tastes that is this? What taste would my consumers be comfortable with? And then down to everything, like what does documentation in this business look like? Like what quality of documentation are we not willing to accept? So, but like if we're doing it product wise, it is what is our benchmark of quality? So is it, oh, it has to be this, it has to be that, it has to be very clearly listed out and not vague or ambiguous or don't worry, somebody's going to remember it in their head. It has to be super clear, super important, super clear, super outlined so everybody can see it. And then you want to make sure that every single person knows it. Every single person knows it, that this is what quality means to us. And what you've just done is that you have created quality champions across the business where everybody knows that no, this isn't us because they can recite it. And you want to have a very clear review process. So at the end of the week or bi-weekly or every month, hey, let's come together and let's have a debrief of how this went. And you want to reward people who go way and above and beyond. And you want to have penalties, whatever name you want to call them, for people who consistently fall below the line, because you become what you reward as a business, and that's really it. The idea of figuring out what quality even means to you, that's the work. And then the idea of making sure that the process of making sure that everybody knows it, everybody knows what's expected of them, that's the second part of it, really. So yeah. I think the other person asked that I recap the four types of operations. It's quite long, and I don't want to put everybody through that again. But I would just say the first is product based, which is something that you will see very clearly with FMCGs. You want to optimize the processes for producing a product. The second is service based. You want to design processes that ensure that your services are efficient and that your customers know exactly what to expect with you every time. So you're looking at employee training, customer interaction. You also, the third one is batch based. So this is also for physical products and you're doing different variation of the same thing. Like for instance, if you have an app that has different product, mini products within the app, that's a batch. And so you want to figure out how to optimize each of these products and how to make sure that people within your business know how to interact with each of them and they know how to put it together. The fourth one is continuous, which is like again my favorite. It's for high demand, minimal variation. It doesn't stop. It's like in a loop. And that's something that software is like that sometimes. It's in a loop, it doesn't stop. You're constantly like whether if someone logs into your app in the morning, it's still the same app they're going to log into in the middle of the night. So it is continuous. It means that your process has to be non-stop, like has to account for the fact that this thing is exist in a loop. So I hope that that clears for the two questions. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Anita. Do we have anyone with any further questions? Any more questions? Please feel free to ask, or if you want to, just ask your questions, you can raise your hand as well. All right. So I see that we don't have any more questions. Oh, someone's hand is raised. All right. Please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Anita. My name is Khunzi. And I wanted to thank you for the awesome presentation. And I wanted to find out, I'm an operations officer, and I started about 3 months ago. And what would you advise somebody who's starting in terms of because where we are, it's a social enterprise, and we're doing training and development for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and for high school, so entrepreneurial training and leadership. So we're in the training and development space. So I'm finding that as we're starting, people don't have that mindset, what you mentioned, of being able to put systems in place and processes so that things run even if you are not there. Just even like a simple task as if I was maybe sick or something, I believe that there must be systems in place that somebody else can pick up and not say so and so is absent. Like, what would be basic things that somebody like me in my situation can latch on, if it's some type of systems or processes, that one can use that can help in where I am. Because I find that even the founder, sometimes it's like I'm talking to myself, or I'm going on and on about things that are not important, but I see them as important as somebody who's wide in the operation space way. I don't know if my question makes sense.
Yeah, the first question I want to ask is that, do you think that you have the buy-in of your boss? Do you
Yes.
think that your boss actively 100% supports your initiatives?
Yes, they do. And I think what you said, I think when you, I don't know what the person asked, where you said maybe when I think you are advising on the early stage so that you don't do a lot of things. So I think maybe I overwhelm them sometimes because I want to do like
Mm-hmm.
everything. So when you mentioned it, I wrote it down that okay, maybe I need to see which part, because of the type of the type of services that we offer, or when you're breaking down the operations, I need to maybe zone on two things, because then I clearly it can be overwhelming, because then there's HR, there's this, so maybe I can pick two or three that I need to, so that I don't overwhelm them, because I've realized that maybe I'm too overwhelming, but the buy-in is there.
Okay. Okay. That's great. I think that I think that it really it's first of all, so there are so many questions I want to ask, but like another one is, do you guys have a document where everybody can clearly see what you want to do for the year and what's expected of them, and like just all of that? Are those very clear? Do you reckon that those are very clear?
Um, so what we've started doing, we've done, and this is we call them commitment contracts, because people just didn't want, lack of a better word, of other things. So commitment contracts, everybody has got that. And we're using them as like a base. But in terms of one for us as a team, yes, we do have
Mm-hmm.
something. But the commitment contracts are the ones that are actually zoning in. So for instance, me as the operations person, I've got my
Mm-hmm.
commitment contract, and then we've split it into that you've got your scope of services, and then you've got your key performance indicators, and then taking them into your action goals for like maybe the first quarter, in line with what our goals are for this quarter.
Okay, so I think the first place to really start is to make sure that all of, like, whatever it is that your goals are very just written somewhere very clear. And you need to do a
Mhm.
bit of culture workshops, maybe two and or three, like, sessions with the team where you are taking them through very specific parts of your organization and why it matters. Then you also need to start reviewing your reward and compensation, like reward and performance and reward, which is people need to know what the this hey, this is the everybody's expected to perform at this level,
Mhm.
100%, right? And
Mhm.
we are you are going to get all the support you need to perform at that level. However, if you perform at 110 or 120, this is what you're going to get, and this is what constitutes 120. This is what constitutes 110. So this is baseline work,
Mhm.
100%. But like, what is above and beyond, you have to be clear. This is what above and beyond means on your job.
Mhm.
um then what is below expectation, you have to also be clear on that, because
Mhm.
people need to wake up. And so it's like but they need to know what they're waking up to and why
Yeah.
they're waking up. So for the ones that are below expectation, you want to have it very clear. If you have three choices out of out, uh, and this is how we act in this business. So you want to define other parts of this: how we talk to each other, this is how we work with each other, this is what matters to our clients or our customers, and this is how we treat them. This is how this interacts with that. At the end, this is how you put the report together. And so if someone falls below that, they already know, like, okay, fine, I have fallen below this, and then you support them to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And if it happens again, you ask them what they need and you support them, and it happens the third time, you're like, yeah, you remember when you signed that you have to go. If someone does above, you need to be able to reward that in a way that is meaningful, so that people can, you are modeling good behavior. So that's really a place to start. And you find that the closer the system that you've built, the more you start to discover newer ways that you can show up operationally for the people who work, and just for your stakeholders generally.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's really helpful.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Anita, for all of the answers you've given. Pretty detailed answers, I should had. So yeah, thank you. So I just want to find out if there are any more questions, because we are bringing today's session to a close. Do we have any more questions? All right. Seeing that there are no more questions, we're just going to have to bring it to a close this evening. So I want to say thank you to Anita for the time you've taken out to be a part of the workshop for this month. We certainly learned a lot, and I dare say we look forward to having you join us again just to teach us, because truly it has been impactful, especially for those, of us in the operations space. And so I want to reiterate that if you have any questions, you have any comments, any suggestions, you can send us an email at sdcstartupschool@gmail.com. Or if you're on the community platform, you could also send me a message. My name is Olayinka Olasheni. I'm one of the admins. So yeah, you could drop me a message as well. And of course, we have our LinkedIn profile, our LinkedIn page. You can just follow up on the activities that we have ongoing there. Just do a quick search on LinkedIn, SDC Startup School. You'd find us there. This brings this brings us to the end of this month's workshop. I'm truly excited, and I want to say thank you as well to everyone that's taking time to be a part of this month's workshop. Next month, we'll converge again to learn as much as we can. Remember, do not forget that one of the things we're committed to doing here at the SDC Startup School or the SDC community is to keep equipping founders with as much resources as they might need to thrive in their building journey. That being said, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Have a fantastic night. Goodbye, everyone.